Sure. So, first and foremost, privately and then in the larger group, he told me and the cohort, which included the NAACP, Color of Change, Free Press. By the way, the George Bush Presidential Center, not exactly bleeding heart liberals, Joe, and the Asian American Foundation, we all came together, and he said, number one, I am not going to re-platform people who've been kicked off the service until we have a clear and transparent process. More than that, I will not do it until after the election results are certified. Secondly, he committed to maintaining the election integrity effort to make sure that disinformation doesn't prevail on the platform in the days around the election. And then finally, he recommitted to a content moderation platform council and offered to include us in it. But more than any of that, Joe, he then tweeted out what we talked about publicly. So look, like I said, this is just the tip of the iceberg. I still have a lot of concerns, but I was really encouraged that he took the meeting, that he listened earnestly. I would tell you, like, he was very present for the whole conversation, and then he did what he said he was going to do. That's
what's going on, everyone. Stocks here today. We're going to break down a breaking news. Apparently, this happened about yesterday, that Elon Musk announces X is considering suing the ADL for defamation and will insist that they drop the A in their name. So if you guys know, I'm sure no one lives under a rock, the Anti-Defamation League is essentially meant to pretty much fight against discrimination, right? And I kind of want to talk about this point that, as you saw from the intro of the video, I think these civil rights leagues, they're becoming middlemen now, right? And I always made this point, like I call Al Sharpton Al Charlatan for a reason, right? Because I don't believe he's actually like these the NAACP. They no longer, I guess, speak for the best interests of black people. It's more like union leaders in a way. They like their position, like, oh, look, I represent a group of people, therefore I have power, and they leverage their power as a middleman to gain special cash and prizes and opportunities. Now you see Al Sharpton, I think he's on MSNBC as a pundit, and he had an interview with Vivek, and in his conversation between Vivek about how he focused so much on sensitivity. And I think this is where this ADL stuff is coming from, right? These sensitive people come out, right? And look, like I'm reading the article. Elon Musk announced on Monday that he's considering suing the Anti-Defamation League. We know this. And then he talks about how if they continue doing this, that he'll have to launch a lawsuit. If they lose the suit, he'll insist that they drop their anti part of the name, because that's what these civil rights leagues has become. They essentially became a defamation league. Look at the NAACP and how they defame Florida, calling Florida the worst place to be black. When if you want to take it from me, who's been born and raised, I'm from Miami, Florida, born and raised there. All my life I've been in Florida. I can't even imagine being anywhere else. You're gonna tell me that's the worst place to be black, worst place to be a minority? Come on. And the president of the NAACP, or one of them anyway, he lives in Tampa, Florida. But Florida's the worst place to be black. These leagues are, they might have used to mean something 50 years ago, maybe 60 years ago, during their founding. But now it's just used as a political weapon against the other side. And they all tend to be liberal, right? I want to get more into this news, and I want to show you this clip with Al Sharpton, because it's going to point out a big hypocrisy that's going to like instantiate my point. This news comes after the break that X is still down around 60% in U.S. ad revenue as the ADL continues to put pressure on its advertisers. This instantiates my point that they're mainly about control to skip wildly popular social media company, right? Our U.S. advertising is still down 60% according to Elon Musk. Further reveals that the ADL has put pressure on X to deplatform popular anti-woke account Libs of TikTok, which is run by a conservative Jewish woman, Kaya Raichi. I think that's how you say it, right? So please consider releasing all communications providing full transparency on the ADL and all other organizations who are pushing to censor certain accounts on Twitter or X. Sincerely, thousands of users who have been suspended, throttled, silenced, or shadow banned. And in the beginning of the video, he talks about like when Elon just bought Twitter. And you see how he's focused on misinformation. These are very subjective terms. What is misinformation? Right? Because at the end of the day, we're human. We can make mistakes. We cannot know something is true because we do not have enough evidence to convince ourselves that it is true. So what constitutes misinformation? To me, when you throw out these subjective terms like misinformation or hate speech, these things need to be defined. Because imagine a law. Like, let's say we pass a law that says, oh, we're not for misbehavior. And there's a law where you can go to 10 years in prison for misbehavior. Misbehavior for you could be, hey, he broke into someone's house and damaged their property. He got to go 10 years in jail. And for you, it's permissible for someone to burn a Trump flag out of someone's house. You still destroy property, but well, with context, this is justified. It's just a sign, right? It's very subjective. No, there needs to be a clear line, and I think these defamation leagues, they keep their language vague so they can get away with essentially politicizing stuff and using your sensitivity. This is why I say liberals like to emotionally manipulate. Some liberals, right? Now I'm trying to be unbiased here, right? But this is why some liberals tend to use emotional language, so they could pressure you or guilt trip you into going along with their agenda. So I want to take this clip now. I want to take the time to take this clip, and I want to show you another news story that I think would bolster my point about these defamation leagues not being about really protecting the people that they claim to represent. Let's take a look.
So, Reverend Sharpton, though, I'm calling out a double standard and saying that certain people can use certain analogies to make a point. Well, I'm using an analogy to make a point. And the point I'm making is we should stop seeing each other on the basis of our skin color. It was god-awful when the KKK did it. But you know what? We have to learn a lesson in the present that we're creating more racial division in this country.
But you
when
cannot
you say if
do
you
it
have black skin, you can only think one thing.
You cannot do it being insensitive to our feeling. Like, that's like calling somebody of any kind of group that had a group that were terrorizing.
So I agree with you. We need sensitivity.
So I think we need to be very careful about that. And I wanted to raise that with you directly. Let me go to my next point.
And I respect that you're able to have an open conversation.
And now we're back. So I wanted to show this article. Apparently, this is what I got this article from Elon Musk, and how someone questioned the mind-bending insanity, completely caving, utterly unconscionable redemption of Al Sharpton. Right? You're not confused. The ADL is becoming as bad as you think. Right? And this is they're going to call out pretty much Al Sharpton's history of inciting violence against Jewish people. Because remember in the clip with Vivek, he was talking about how, it's not the same calling Ella Presley's comments the modern KKK when the KKK actually went out and hurt people. Well, Al Sharpton, you were involved a long time ago. Now, I'm not claiming to know all of Al Sharpton's bad dealings. What I do know is he is using essentially civil rights for his own personal gain at the expense of his people. That's how I see it. Now, you can disagree with me, but I don't know if you can still hold this position of looking at Al Sharpton kindly after this article, right? So this past weekend, the Jewish Council for Public Affairs, an umbrella group uniting 125 local Jewish communities and 17 national Jewish organizations, sent an email to his followers proudly announcing that it has signed a partnership in a virtual march on Washington this week, an event organized by Al Sharpton. This article is in August. Right? So because of last week has been marked as the 29th anniversary of the Crown Heights riots, it's worth to stop and recall that amongst his many distinctions, and MSNBC pundit and advisor who reportedly regularly speaks to the Democratic presidential candidate Joe Biden. This was in 2020 August. My question is, look at this. Personal gain, right? An advisor. Like, to me, if you like, black people are not just Democrats. There are Republican black people too. Like, there are black Republicans out here too, right? And this is my problem. This is why when people like calling black conservatives grifters, I laugh. Because I'm like, okay, when people say, Kenny, you saying all these talking points so you can be on a right-wing network. Al Sharpton's on a left-wing network. Oh, you just talking because you want to be buddy-buddy with the Republicans. You sound like a Republican. Well, this dude regularly talks to Democrats. And if you're a civil rights leader, Martin Luther King didn't only just talk to Democrats either. He talked to Republicans as well. And then he made his choice. Hey, we're going with the Democrats here. And that's mainly because of JFK. And JFK, if you look at JFK, if you were to compare JFK politics to today, a lot of what he's saying, conservatives are saying right now. But Democrats are the part of the lesser evil. Okay, continue rationalizing your abusive relationship with the Democratic Party, Black America. But I digress. I digress. I don't want to get political. This is about Al Sharpton. Okay. After a car incident by a Hazdak Jew who accidentally swerved and struck a young African-American boy, killing him, you know where this is going. Hundreds of neighborhood black residents rioted in the street chanting death to the Jews. Now, YouTube, don't pull my video back because I said that. I'm quoting somebody, a tablet. I'm assuming this is a Jewish news outlet, as well as looting stores. Surprise, surprise. Attacking anyone who was visibly Jewish and ripping Mazatov, I think that's the thing on there. Oh no, sorry, I don't know. Off the top of doorposts. Someone can tell me what this is. I'm not too familiar with Jewish tradition. I'm being honest there. Sharpton was quick to arrive on the scene. Always, come on, don't let a good crisis go to waste. That's how he do the same thing to funerals. I remember I made a video that I was displaying Bob Woodson, who is like a elderly black man that was kicked out of the civil rights movement because he didn't believe in the direction it was going. He calls out this grievance culture, and I made a comparison of how Al Sharpton thrives on grievances. He uses grievances for his own political gain, to gain more power, more influence, and more money usually. Right? But I digress. Leading a march in which participants burned the Israeli flag and called to hurt the Jews. At the young boy's funeral a few days later, Sharpton delivered a eulogy that borrowed heavily from the protocols of the elders of Zion, saying that the Jewish residents of the neighborhood practiced apartheid and that they were only there to further the Jewish global grips on power and money. Why hasn't the ADL launched any claims against Al Sharpton? That's a question you should tell yourself, right? You're the Anti-Defamation League. And this is what I'm talking about. These little civil rights defamation leagues, bro, they're just using the pretext of, we're fighting for a minority group. We're fighting for this group just to exercise power. It's the same thing what BlackRock does. We invest our money because we want to have money in the age of retirement. And BlackRock uses the fact that people put their money on and say, hey, look, we have control of all this capital, and then we'll use the fact that we're managing all this capital to push our personal agenda. This is the same thing that's going on with the Civil Rights League, the Civil Rights League, because on principle, they want to associate themselves with Al Sharpton, but they are. He ended up anonymously shouting, "Pay your deeds." Right? I don't want to keep going into this. If you want to start, this is from Tabloid Mag. I mean, Elon was sharing this, so I'm sure if you follow Elon, you probably might have seen this, right? At least one Jew had already paid the ultimate price for Al Sharpton's incitement of violence. Oh, but look at him criticizing Trump for it, right? A few days later, 20 black men surrounded Yonkel Rosenberg, and you can probably check out these stories too to collaborate and verify that what is being said here is true. A 29-year-old student stabbing him in the back and beating him so badly that they smashed his skull in. Wow, right? Rosenbaum, sorry if I mispronounced that, so he came to his wounds later that night. Charlatans showed up at the scene soon after, ensuring that the rioting continued for days. Right? This is why you have to have a long memory in politics. Because then when you see these same people come out here virtue signaling and telling you, it's not the same thing. Action begins with an idea. If you have an idea that you can do things and someone else can do things, you're essentially treating that person as a second-class citizen. Jewish people should know this. That's what Hitler started to do. He started making, you got to wear an armband. And then it escalated from there. Because it's only going to escalate. There's only two things. Nothing stays stagnant. This is one thing about reality, about history. Nothing stays stagnant. Either it becomes more so or less so. So if Vivek's coming out here and calling out the double standard that, hey, you can't be able to infer something about somebody just because of the color of their skin, And just because they said something you don't agree with, then therefore they're not authentically black or they're not a brown voice. You can't do that. That's racism. But Al Sharpton, he doesn't condone it. He doesn't like say anything about it. He's just mad at the fact that Vivek made the comparison to someone on his side. That's all he cared about. And that's what it seemed like these defamation leagues care about, because they're not anti-defamation league. We need to, if Elon wins this lawsuit, and I hope he does, sue, they should drop that ante, because they're they're just a defamation league. They're going around. They're here to make controls, right? Since the acquisition, the ADL has been trying to kill this platform by falsely accusing it of being anti-Semitic. I gave you the example with the double ACP with Florida. Oh, it's racist. Worst place to be black. Black man from Florida, born and raised in Florida, native Floridian, telling you it's not so. Defamation. And I think until people start pushing back against these people, they're going to keep going. This one-sided aggression it shouldn't be tolerated by anybody. But hey, I want to hear your thoughts in the comment section. What do you guys think? Do you think you agree with my take? Don't agree with my take? I would like to hear your thoughts in the comment section below. I really appreciate you guys for watching to the end of the video, and I'll catch you guys on the next one. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Peace.